Queens. Okay, so today we are going to make something in one of my favorite appliances. Okay, we're going to use the bread machine, and this is the pan for the bread machine. And it's basically a loaf pan, but it's vertical. So in the bottom here, there's a little paddle, and that connects to this little gear here, and the paddle comes off, as you can see, and it mixes in here, it bakes in here, it does everything in here. Okay, so we're gonna start with a cup of warm milk that we're going to pour into the bottom. You always want to start with your liquid ingredients in the bottom. Okay, then we're going to put a beaten egg, and we don't have to worry about scrambling because it's not boiling or anything. It's just warm. Okay. Then we have 3 tablespoons of brown sugar and 1 teaspoon of salt. We have a 3 cups of all-purpose flour. So this recipe, usually you want to use bread flour, but for this recipe, it permits us to use all-purpose flour, which is what I'm looking for because I ran out of bread flour, and I really want bread because what I'm going to do in another video today is I'm going to make some just a regular old American bacon and eggs breakfast. But I realized that I don't have any bread. I can't make any toast with it. So I'm going to kind of do it in 2 stages, I guess, here. So you'll see me make the bread, and then you'll see me make the breakfast. And together they shall not meet until tomorrow. Um, then you need 1 envelope of rapid rise instant yeast fast acting. And what you may have seen, if you see my fingers here, I made a little well in the flour. Okay, you want to put the yeast in that well. This is just like the bread machine tool or technique, because what you have to do is you have to make sure that that yeast gets dispersed throughout. You don't really have any control over the process. Once we put it into there and press the button, this thing just does its own thing. It does the whole kit and caboodle. Now, if you want to bake it in the oven, and use like a loaf pan and do that, you can just use this for a dough mixer and proofer. You can set it so that it just gives you the dough mixing and then the proofing with the heating element. But I like to use the whole thing because it makes making bread easy and fun and simple, and anything that could go wrong pretty much doesn't go wrong. Now I say that, but this is not actually my first video. I'm going to share a little confession here for you. Um, I made another video with a cheese bread, and I adapted it from this recipe, and it came out abysmal because it had too much cheese in it. It had too much liquid in it. It didn't mix well. So I just scrapped that. I was really excited. It looked beautiful and it tasted beautiful. It tasted incredible. It had a great, um, like, not a bread texture, but kind of almost like a cross between cheese and bread. It was so good, but it didn't look good. It didn't come out right, and I don't want to share something with you that doesn't come out right. If it's not working, I don't want to share it with you. So maybe I'll tweak that and see if I could get that recipe to work. But cheese breads in general are kind of hard in this bread machine because the cheese pulls it down and weighs it down, and it's hard to get distributed. So it really, you can make them. There are recipes for cheese bread that do work in the bread machine, but that recipe was not designed for the bread machine, and I thought I could adapt it, but I'll figure it out. I think the main problem was that I put too much water in there. There was too much liquid, and uh, that it didn't call for that. It called for half the amount of liquid, but it called for evaporated milk. So I don't know what I was thinking. I used double the amount of liquid. So it was very wet and it didn't get all incorporated. Okay, enough about what went wrong. We're gonna make sure that this gets right. So I have 4 tablespoons of butter, and I've kind of diced it up, and it's soft. Okay, so you want to put the uh, butter in the. Sorry about that. You want to put the butter into the sides. Okay, again, you don't have any control over this thing when you let it rip. So you need to kind of do things that are going to allow the machine to do what you want. Okay, so we are going to put that into the sides. It's cut up into pieces, and that allows the butter to get incorporated as the machine cycles through. And it goes through some weird cycles, okay? It goes through a kneading cycle, it goes through a resting cycle, it goes through a heating cycle, it goes through these weird kind of movements, okay? So we're going to take it now, we're going to bring it over to the bread machine, and I'm going to switch the camera and show you the rest. Okay, so here is our dough all ready to rock and roll. So I'm going to take the lid, and this is a West Bend. It was made in the U.S. It's an incredible bread machine. The only thing that I want to get is the double loaf size one, so I could do bigger loaves. But they make one that was like a 2 pound loaf. These make between a 1 and a 1.5 pound loaf, which is fine for me. But sometimes you want like a nice size loaf. Okay, so we're going to go over here. We're going to select our bread. Okay, um, and you want it. I always do the basic. Okay, so you see there it says basic. That's the setting. Okay, and you can select your bread color. I'm going to say dark for this one. I'm going to try the dark setting. Usually I do the medium setting, but let's try dark. Okay, and then once we do that, you just hit start, and in a little under 4 hours, we will have bread. Okay, so we'll come back when the bread is done so you can see what it looks like. Kitchen kings and queens, did you ever hear that old adage, ask and you shall receive? Remember how I was saying that I wanted the 2 pound machine that makes the bigger loaves? Well, ask and you shall receive. So what happened was I used a whole envelope of the yeast. I probably should have just used half, but it's okay. I actually am glad that it came up this way. The the um the loaf looks nicer. It's more full. It's beautiful. It did press against the door here, so I'm going to just leave that in there so that it can clean a little bit. But that's okay. It reminded me of that I Love Lucy episode where she was baking bread and the bread like pushed open the door, I was really concerned that that's what was going to happen to my loaf and the bread machine. But that did not happen. Okay, so you got to kind of give it a little shake at first to release it. And then really, we should let this kind of cool a little bit. It should actually be like totally cool before it's sliced. But I just want to show you and get some slices out of it. Okay, so here's the only downside to using a bread machine, and it doesn't matter what bread machine you use. You see the bottom there? That's where the paddle is. Okay, so I'll pull out the paddle if I can here. It's a little hot, but um, um, it's just the cost of doing business. You lose a couple slices with the paddle interfering with the bottom there. Okay, I can't get it out now. You can get it out later, and then you can get that part off. But this is a beautiful loaf. And I have this West Bend slicing guide, which basically acts as a guide for the slices. And this loaf is going to just fit in here. Okay. So it gives you all these guides. And then the best way to slice bread is to use an electric carving knife. Okay, so we're going to use this and we're going to slice the bread. And I'm going to do it sideways so that it falls this way. All right, so that's a little janky slice. Wow. Okay, so I'm going to stop there because I want to make sure this loaf is so beautiful and I want to give it time to cool. But you can see the beautiful bread that this created. And I'm going to eat this one because that's our little messy slice. But it's just perfect. I mean, it's dense, it's soft, it's delicious. So I'm going to take some of my beloved French butter and we're going to just kind of lay these slices on there. I'm going to take this one and we're just going to give it a little bit of butter. Remember, there's butter in it, so it doesn't need a whole lot of butter, but you know, butter is just the best with bread. It's the best way to kind of get the full taste of the bread. Oh, this dough, this bread is just so perfect. It's light, it's very tasty. It's got a great crumb. The crumb is very good, the exterior crumb. It's got a nice soft interior. It's got a little bit of sweetness, but it's not a sweet bread. It just accentuates all the good parts of the bread. So I love my bread maker. The only thing I don't like about this bread maker is the tabs for the door. That's why I just take it off. I've learned, and I don't think this is unique to West Bend. I think this is just the nature of the materials. They use plastic to make the bread lid. The bread lid has to be able to be removed. So it just, it's not very strong. The tabs are not very strong. So I just take it off and put it back on when I need it on there. But, and that satisfies the problem. But that's the only problem I have with this bread maker or bread makers in general. And of course the paddle, but that's okay. It's just a couple slices that you lose. And with the case of this bread, you had this nice huge loaf. So it's not, you didn't really lose very much. So I hope you, if you have a bread machine, you use it more often. I use mine anytime I run out of bread. And I wonder why I buy bread when it's so easy and so much better. Uh, but I hope you try this recipe. I hope you enjoy it. I hope you're having a great weekend. And I will see you soon. Bye, Kitchen Kings and